The contract extensions keep coming as Jake Christiansen has been given 2 more years as a Blue Jacket. What does this mean for him and the rest of the Blue Jackets defensemen? We're going to talk about that in this bonus Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, a bonus Locked on Blue Jackets. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. We are here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team, and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. We are free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, and we've already done an episode today, but here we are again because the Blue Jackets love to do things basically as soon as I finish recording, or as soon as I get on a plane, or go to sleep, or get in the shower, or like anytime I can't actively react to news. And lo and behold, what is it, 6 p.m. on a Friday, a contract extension for defenseman Jake Christiansen. He's getting 2 years at $975K a year. He, I believe, just signed a 1-year contract extension last summer, kind of a show me deal. Looks like it's gone well enough. I've liked Christiansen's work this season. I like this extension a whole lot. And I think it's going to have some ripple effects, and I'll talk about what I mean by that in a second here. But Jay Christiansen was kind of the odd man out, I thought, this summer. There was a lot of talk about, well, you've got Werenski, you've got Provorov, you've got Severson, you've got Gabranson. You've just signed Jack Johnson. That means including Jiricek and Matejchuk and Christiansen, there's 8 defensemen for 6 spots. And realistically, the team is probably only going to carry 7. Oh, I forgot about John Harris as well. So there's 9. 9 defensemen for, including, 5 of them competing for 2 spots. And Jake Christiansen actually came out on the best in all of them. I think he really impressed Dean Everson. Obviously, the defense pairings have shifted and moved around a little bit since the beginning of the season, but I really like Christiansen and Severson as a pairing. I thought they were a very reliable second pairing in the early going of the season. Obviously, picking up Dante Fabro on waivers and him clicking with Werenski means that things have been shifted around a little bit. But Christiansen and Severson have been reunited on that bottom pairing, and he's been doing well. This is a guy that I think has really, again, taken advantage of a situation of brand new head coach coming in, Dean Everson, very, very open about, like, I don't care what your role was last season. I don't know any of you guys. I don't know anything about any of you guys. I'm going to watch you guys play, and then we'll make a lineup from that. And I think Christiansen did enough to impress Everson. I've liked his game for a while now. He was an AHL All-Star last year, I believe the year before as well. And he's one of those guys that is too good for the AHL, I think, but hasn't really found a niche in the NHL yet. And this year he found his niche, and he's done really, really well, and has been rewarded for it. Like I said, last summer he signed a contract. I'm just going to pull up what the exact numbers are on the contract. But it was, I'm almost positive it was a 1-year deal at the end of this summer. Yeah, so in the summer, why won't Puckpedia load? He signed a 1-year contract for $775,000, which would take him to being an RFA this summer upcoming. He has been given a $200,000 pay rise, which is pretty good. I would also love a $200,000 pay increase, but and also an extra year. So that takes him into, I believe, it cuts off the first year of his UFA eligibility, which is great. Very, very talented young defenseman. Not flashy, not like... He's really kind of learned to play defense in the NHL because he was a really offensively minded guy in the AHL, and I don't think that's worked out in the NHL, which is fine. But he's kind of very quietly become quite a reliable defenseman. I like the way that he plays a lot, and like I said, he's really found a niche for himself on the Blue Jackets. Now, I think this contract extension is really interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one is, well, okay, it's mostly one big reason, and that big reason is the Ivan Provorov of it all. I was actually having this conversation with some friends yesterday where they were talking about, do they keep Provorov if this team makes the playoffs, if this team is in a playoff spot by the trade deadline, what do they do? And like I was like, well, I still think that they're probably buyers. I still think that like Ivan Provorov has so much value on the trade market that I think trading him is almost like a foregone conclusion. I have really liked the way that he's played with Denton Matejchuk since Matejchuk's call up. Like I like that second pairing a lot. And maybe they do decide to keep him. I still don't think this team is going to be buyers at the deadline. I do think they are more likely to sell, but I am less convinced than I was that they're going to trade Provorov. Obviously, the Blue Jackets fall out of a playoff spot, then we'll be having a different conversation. But there's been a lot of conversation about, well, Provorov really loves it in Columbus. The team likes having him here. He's having a really good season this year after a very poor season last year. Does he extend in Columbus? Does he get a new contract here? And I have mostly been leaning on the side of no for a couple of reasons. One, because the Blue Jackets have a lot of good up and coming young defensemen like Jake Christiansen, and two, Ivan Provorov is exactly the age where he wants that big 7-year free agent contract, right? He doesn't want to sign for 2 or 3 years, which is probably what he was going to get in Columbus. He's 27 now, I believe. So he wants that big payday. He's exactly the right age to sign one of those stupid, too long free agent deals. If they were like, yeah, we'll keep you around for 2 seasons and then you can go and get that big contract, like maybe. But I don't get the feeling that that's where this is going to go. And now that they've re-signed Christiansen, I am even surer that Ivan Provorov will be leaving, if not at the trade deadline, then in the summer. Jake Richardson plays on the left side. Provorov has been playing almost exclusively on the right side this season, but is a natural left defenseman. But with Werenski, Matejchuk, and Christiansen down the left-hand side, I don't know that there's a place for Provorov if they want to move him back to his natural side. Obviously the right side is looking a little thin at the minute. There's really only Dante Fabro. Erica Branson is out injured. Jordan Harris is a left defenseman. Jack Johnson, I believe, is also a left defenseman. So, again, maybe they keep him around to play on the right side, but I just don't know. I think this 2-year extension for Christiansen, to me, says this is a young defenseman that we're focusing on. We're not, like, we want to give other defensemen the opportunity, next season to take steps forward. I'm thinking about, guys like Damon Hunt, potentially. I'm thinking about guys like Charlie Ellick is still probably a ways away. But Stanislav Sozil is another guy. And to me, this says a lot about what the depth for this team is. I was kind of expecting Christiansen to go this summer, honestly, not for any reason to do with like his performance or whatever. I just didn't think that he fit into the depth chart, especially having been leaped a little bit by Matejchuk. But looks like he's sticking around, and I'm really pleased with that. Actually, like I said, I like Christiansen a lot. I think he's a really good depth guy, and again, he's a guy that's really taken advantage of there being a hole in the lineup, and someone's got to fill it. And he was like, "Well, I'll do it," and no one else really stepped up. So good for him. Like I said, 2 more years, pay increase for him, which is great. And we'll see what happens at the end of those 2 years. I know everyone's still waiting on the Mathieu Olivier contract extension. That's still coming, obviously. Don Waddell, it looks like it's just it's cleaning up all of the little pieces first before dealing with the Olivier contract. I suspect we'll see it in a couple of weeks. But immediate reaction, I love this contract extension. Great. Not like groundbreaking, but a really nice, tidy little piece of work for GM Don Waddell. So we'll probably talk about this in a little bit more detail on Monday's episode of Locked on Blue Jacket, which you can find wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER, and you can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, even if this is the second episode of the day. But until then, until Monday, I guess, make sure you stay locked on.